Hello, everyone. I have a really powerful, ancient future story to tell you today that I feel will bring some peace to your heart and also some aim to the direction of how you can contribute and align with the positive future of humanity. And this is a coming full circle moment for me, and also will contextualize the direction of my work and why I'm going in the direction of my work. And I think will really illuminate what's most essential right now when so many things are vying for our attention or priority. This can align and center us back to our path or back to the path of what is most valuable for our species and for us individually. So I'm always very interested, and I pay attention, pay note when something through time is a constant, is a impermeable truth. And I've come to this space with what I'm going to share right now from the ancient Indigenous earth tradition path and what I've learned and remembered from that, as well as the stories, the experiences from the ETs and from the Galactics. When something is coming from a place that is deeply rooted while simultaneously being vast, and that heaven on earth merging and mirroring, truths, principles, values, priorities for life can be found. So this is what we're going to explore. So before I dive right into the story, I just want to let you know that my Sedona retreat coming up in April is already half full with incredible people, and it's going to be such a soul enriching experience to reconnect with yourself, with spirit, with nature, with each other, with the earth, with the stars. And my partner is going to be co-facilitating with me. It's going to be very creative, inspiring, relaxing. So be sure to go reserve your spot down below. And I also have my women's program coming up, a 13-week feminine initiation journey online that begins March 9th. So for all you ladies out there, be sure to go check that out down below as well. This video is going to illustrate why these kinds of experiences are so important for us at this time. So without further ado, let's get into it. So where this story begins, whether it is ancient or future, somewhere in the ethos, as well as in the mythology or in real reality for you, however you look at that, is the stories of the ETs, and particularly the story of the Greys and how it relates to humanity right now. And their main point of what they were guiding abductees to, what they were guiding and sharing with their experience of coming back in whatever way you see that. And that's the story we need to revisit right now today. It's pertinent, that wisdom that's there, that's being echoed by Indigenous tribes that I've been working with. And so let's get straight into it. So maybe you know the story, maybe you don't, but the idea is that there is this race of ETs that are called the Greys or the Zeta Reticuli, and they are actually future humans. They're future humanity that then broke off and became, in a sense, another species. And these ETs then came back in a different time period from the mid-20th century, ending about the end of the century, and were abducting humans and having all of these interactions and experiences. And in these interactions and experiences with humans, and why they were coming back is because, one, they genetically engineered themselves to go extinct. So this was like the last couple generations, and they needed fresh, clean genetics to be able to perpetuate their race. And they needed to get that genetics, interestingly enough, before genetic engineering took place and before all of the things that have been happening in about the last 80 to 100 years. One of the things that they were telling abductees that I heard in different experiences that I had and dream experiences is what went wrong. Right? What went wrong to make themselves genetically modify themselves out of being able to reproduce? And that is an important lesson because that is the crux of being able to continue humanity and to continue our species. And so what is that essential piece? Now, before we get into the key, we need to understand the nature of what took us out of our nature, which is this orientation, which we're seeing right now, towards the mind, towards intellect, towards progress, towards efficiency, towards technology over the body. What is natural over right brain, over all of these instinctual and pleasurable things that ironically are the very things that make us human. And so those things just were kind of extracted as this distorted masculine. That's not the true masculine, but it's this distorted masculine of forgetfulness and distorted feminine of forgetfulness went hyper fast, speeding towards the mind, speeding towards technology and efficiency above all else. And in that process, they lost the ability to even perpetuate themselves when they were actually trying to play God. They were trying to play creator. And in that process, they forgot the very nature of their own creatorship. So we're really seeing this today. And I'll go into a few ways that we're seeing it in a minute, but I want to continue with the story. So the remedy, the antidote that they found, that they talked about in these experiences with abductees, is nurturance, is the feminine. And I found this very interesting, and this is corroborated by thousands of other people. It's a very common within this story, within this narrative, that they were making with certain subsects of humanity's genetics and their genetics, these hybrid beings. They couldn't make them actually ensoul. That spirit, that soul wouldn't come in or wouldn't stick unless there was nurturance, unless there was love, unless there was warmth, compassion, all of these incredible, yummy, feminine qualities that both and all genders have. Like, we all have those qualities. Yes, they're more oriented, say, in women in that particularly maternal sense, but it is in all genders. It's this inherent nature and principle of the feminine. And that is the very thing that was needed for these hybrids in these experiences to be able to ensoul. And that ensoulment process is essential. Dan Winter talks about this a lot, and I just love it. It's so essential. That ensoulment process is essential for generational continuity. So they were able to do it for generations. I don't know how many, but they were able to do it for generations in this very sterile, optimized, cold, scientific way. But were they able to sustain the continuity of thousands of generations through the extermination or through the forgetfulness or through the editing out of the feminine principle? And the answer is no. And so right now we're on the precipice. We're in the middle of it. We're in the crucible of this being forgotten again, of the essential nature of the feminine to the continuity of the species. And not just the continuity of new babies and new life, which is essential, so we could just focus on it for that reason alone, but how many other ways that these qualities are so life-giving and so wonderful and so nourishing to experience it. It is connection. It is empathy. It is love. It is so many of the things that is good in humanity. There are so many other incredible aspects to technology, to science, to the mind, to optimization, to exploration. Like, all those are super cool and essential and have their place as well, but not at the expense or not at the extermination of the feminine as well. All of it is meant to work in harmony. And so for me, as I recall this story, and as I hear absolute echoes within Indigenous communities that have been able to sustain themselves and nature and balance for generations, when these other distorted qualities have instigated destruction on the planet, destruction to our biology, destruction to life, I'm seeing this full circle connection. And I tell this as an opportunity for all of us to check in, to reflect, and to see what we want to prioritize as individuals and what we want to prioritize as a collective going forward. And so for me, this also, I think, helps recontextualize or contextualize why I'm going deeply into the feminine embodiment, going into the soul embodiment category on my path personally, as well as really ushering in the remembrance of what that is, because it is innate. It is our nature. But with so much right now in the world that is psyoping and also hypnotizing our attention, our biology, our hormones, dopamine, all those things, we can get so distracted that we actually forget how to be in our inner nature. And this is one of the things that I've been deprogramming and realigning to for the past many years. And what I realized I was doing is I was so hyper connected to this hive mind augmented reality that is now the technological world, that it had become bigger than my ability to embody and to listen to my own intuition and to be able to create in my own natural nature in physical reality, in connection with other people, in connection with my creative impulses to even just make things in the physical realm. And so I've personally been in that deprogramming process and also in that rerouting process to my own nature, to my own rhythms, with the guidance of so many different elders and so many different traditions and wise ones that hold that still intact. And in many ways, that's becoming a lost art. And it is something that we can forget, even though it's our nature. And so it's so important to keep intact and to cultivate as a counterbalance and not in opposition of all of the advancement and all of the evolution and technological exploration that's taking place. I think there's a place for both. And to also remember to cultivate and include these other pieces so that we remembered how to even connect with a fellow human in person. And a lot of those things in the coming years will become more challenging, or there will be, in some ways, a forgetfulness of the actual how to do that. And so this is also a whole category of connection, of rerouting, of embodiment, of soul that is so needed in the future, that will need reminders of how to do this. And so it's really essential. As I'm hearing and putting myself deep into this content around robotics and AI and doing all these things, and these billionaires and these very powerful people whose priorities are paving the way for our collective, I think it's very important for each of us to assess and hold what we see as truly valuable and to remember that and act in alignment with that. And so when, say, these billionaires or these certain people in power and influence are really still moving from a profit-driven model versus a principle-based continuity of life on Earth model, they're very different things. And so how can we orient to a life-giving model that is sustaining of ourselves, of our species, of all of life, of this planet? And this is really the message that's coming through from all time spaces. And this ain't anything new. This ain't no energy update, actually. This is a through thread that is a constant that is being reminded to us when we can listen and remember to this deeper internal call of our nature. And that is our stardust nature. And that is our salt of the earth nature, to help each one of us remember our sacred role, to remember our mission as we move forward as individuals in this collective dance. What I'm sharing here and what I'm going to be sharing a lot is, as my friend put it recently to me, she said, you're sharing what is needed, not necessarily what is wanted. And I am more than happy to do that, because that is what feels most essential to me. I don't just want to entertain that. There's so much of that, but I want to assist with what is going to be most helpful to ourselves and to the collective through the perspectives that I'm getting it, because there's many other perspectives that are very important as well. And with this, in this lesson, in this story, how can each of us, no matter gender, be and embody more of that balanced feminine and cultivate those qualities of the feminine and continue to embody our soul and not move as much into the head, into the intellect, into the dopamine, into this world, but move back into our body, which is able to listen instinctually, intuitively to nature, to guidance, to inspiration in really powerful ways that is needed right now. And all of those really beautiful, warm, gentle, kind qualities that humanity could benefit from. Like, I think a bit more kindness and gentleness would be very helpful for everything right now. And so how can we begin and continue to foster those qualities as to not manifest or recreate this ET future story, but go on a different pathway, to go on a different timeline, to learn, to remember, and to realign and move from that place within ourselves. So that is the full circle message that I have from many, many years of exploring these different things from different vantage points. So please comment below. I would love to hear what was helpful for you or insightful, or what you're going to move forward on. Any comments, feedback that is inspiring and life-giving to you. And one of the essential pieces to remember these qualities of our own inner nature is to reconnect with our humanity. And to connect with our humanity, it requires connecting with each other, because that's how we move back into these spaces of empathy, of compassion, of care, of connection, of these beautiful, juicy things that are human, that are life. And so I very much so invite you to be a part of these things that I'm putting together so that we can continue to cultivate and deepen these things together, including my upcoming Sedona retreat and my online women's program. And of course, as you're seeing, I'm being consistent with these videos. Again, I'm back now that I have shared where I've been and brought that up to speed. So thank you to all of you who are here with me again. I'm so grateful to be with you. And again, be sure to like, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see you next time with another video.